Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. So if you've been watching my last few videos, you know that I just came back from a vacation to Paris, and while I was there, of course, I had to do some shopping. My major shopping was done at Chanel and Louis Vuitton, so I will make sure to link those videos if you want to see more in depth about each of these bags that I purchased. But again, just to give an overview of what this video is going to be about, I'm going to unbox these items, but I'm not going to go over them in detail. Again, I'll make sure to link those specific videos where you can, get tips that are specific to shopping at Chanel or specific to shopping at Louis Vuitton. This video is strictly going to be unboxing it and going over the exact prices. So I'm going to be going over the prices in USD. I'm going to be giving the prices in euros, so what I paid, and I'm going to be going over the tax refund forms to go over exactly how much I got back, and therefore, what I ended up paying total at the very end of the trip. So all of this being said, that's going to be the first part of the video. If you're just interested to see the items really briefly and the exact prices at the end of the video, if you do want to stick around, maybe if you are planning to travel to Europe soon, I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks of, the rates at the different luxury houses, what you can expect, how to get your VAT refund, and just other things to keep in mind if you are planning to make purchases while you are in Europe. So please give this video a like if you found it helpful, and please subscribe to more videos in the future about all my unboxings or other luxury purchases. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Before I went into the bags and the prices, I really did want to quickly go over, what is the VAT refund? What is the VAT tax? So VAT is a value added tax, and in Europe, unlike the US or Canada, the tax is baked into the retail price of the item. So therefore, if you aren't a, European citizen, they actually refund you that amount after the purchase. And that amount for luxury goods is 20%, but then they have partners that essentially process the refund, and those partners take part of that refund. So they take a cut, they process you the refund, and then they give you back about like 10 to 13% of that initial refund. So just really quickly wanted to go over that before I dove into the rest of the video. Okay, so starting off with my first purchase, which was from Chanel at the 31 Rue Cambon flagship. Again, I'll make sure to link the video up at the top about the review of the flagship, when they get stock, general prices, and how to get an appointment, and a little bit more in depth about this bag. But just for now, this is what I purchased. If we go ahead and we open it, here's just some paperwork. We have the classic wallet on chain. And again, please watch my last videos for some more dedicated unboxing. But as you know, this is the standard wallet on chain. Very hard to get in, other countries, especially where I am right now. Had to fight a little bit for this bag. Story time in my second to last video. But now let's go ahead and let's go over how much I paid for this. So as you may all have known, Chanel recently just had a global price increase everywhere except the US and in China. So actually the bag that I bought when I was in France, I didn't even know that there was going to be a price increase, but it's since increased already since I bought it, and I'll make sure to share those numbers. But in the US right now, it's still the same price of 2,950 USD. After tax where I am, I probably would have ended up paying $3,300, but that's even if I can find it in store. So I'll insert some screenshots of where I've seen it online, like Fashion File, Redeluxe, but you can't even get the bag for retail. So let's just say, $3,500 if I were to, get it from a reseller or a personal shopper. In Europe, the bag is currently $2,700. However, when I bought it, it was 2,550 euros. Now, with all of that being said, I'm looking at the VAT refund right here. So when you shop at luxury goods or you buy luxury goods, the VAT is 20%. And based on the carrier who is issuing your refund, you'll probably get anywhere from, 10, 12, 13% back. And Chanel uses something called Planet Tax Free. Planet Tax Free actually gives you 13% back, which is a little bit on the higher end. So with that being said, out of the 2,550 euros, they gave me back 331.50 cents in euros. So with all of that being said, let me go ahead and I will put a picture here on the screen, but I ended up saving a few $100s. So based on that, I only paid 2,218 euros for this bag, and that is equivalent to 2,407 US dollars if you convert from euro to USD. So that being said, again, if I were to buy it retail, 3,300, so I already saved $900 just right there. And that's not even if I were to go ahead and pay more, like most people unfortunately do right now, buying it on a secondhand site like The Real, Fashion File, etc. Okay, now let's unbox both of my Louis Vuitton purchases. And again, I'll link my last video up here if you want to know more about how to buy Louis Vuitton in France, what the experience, general availability, etc. So here we go. Let's unbox this bag right here. And here we are. This is the Buci, B-U-C-I. Again, not going to do a full video, but just going to give a quick turnaround just in case this is the first video of mine that you're seeing and you have not seen the Buci before. Adjustable strap, epi leather, and then calf on the bottom. So similarly, let's do a breakdown of the price of the Buci. So as you know, Louis Vuitton also just had a price increase, which again, it hurts, but unfortunately this is the world we live in. And previously it was $2,100 USD, and it went up currently to $2,230. So not the worst price increase out of all the bags, but nonetheless still a price increase. However, I knew I wanted this bag before I went to France, so I unfortunately did buy it literally the day after the price increase, but it was still a lot cheaper than the US. So I went ahead and I was like, you know what, still gonna get it. That's not enough to change my mind. So after taxes, 2,230, let's just call it 2,200. I probably would have paid just over 2,400 for this bag. Now in Europe, this bag was previously 1,550 euros, and it went up by 100 euros after the price increase. So the retail price was 1,650 euros. And again, that includes the 20% VAT. Unlike Chanel, Louis Vuitton uses something now, Global Blue. Now in my experience, Global Blue is probably the most common tax refund, I guess, partner. And again, I'll touch on that at the end of the video. But Global Blue only gives you back 12%. So that is one thing to keep in mind. Chanel is 13, Louis Vuitton is 12. So with that being said, out of the $1,650, Global Blue said that they were going to give me back 198 euros. So 198 euros from the original price, that is 1,452 euros that I ended up paying for this bag, which is equivalent to $1,576. So as you can see, Louis Vuitton is significantly cheaper in France than if you were to buy it anywhere else. Now, if you remember, all of the brands used to be like this, Chanel, Dior, YSL, they all used to be cheaper in Europe, but now a lot of brands have sort of globalized their prices, meaning that if you were to buy it, no matter where you are in the world, you're basically paying the same, give or take tax. So that's why Chanel, even though I saved quite a bit, it wasn't anywhere like, Louis Vuitton, because Chanel is one of those brands that globalize their prices. So last but not least, the last luxury purchase from Louis Vuitton, and for my entire Paris trip, is the Louis Vuitton Neverfull in Empreinte leather. So this bag went up significantly in Louis Vuitton's last price increase in Neverfull, so it hit quite a bit. So this bag is currently retailing in the US for $2,710. So after tax, it would have probably been around $3,000 for me to get this Neverfull. Now in Europe, this bag was selling for 2,000 euros. And then the tax refund again was 12%, so I got 240 euros back, and that brought it down to 1,760 euros. Now again, converting that to USD, 1,760 euros is about $1,900. So with that being said, you can see that in this bag I actually saved more than $1,000. I saved $100 and $100 give or take just by being able to purchase this in France. And again, these France prices, the $2,000 euro was after a price increase. So even after the price increase in Europe, it was still significantly cheaper than if I were to buy it in Europe. In fact, for both of my Louis Vuitton purchases, even what I paid after the increases in Europe, it still would have been cheaper retail in USD, even taxes and everything included. So again, if you are eyeing Louis Vuitton items, or you weren't really considering it, really consider buying Louis Vuitton if you are going to Paris, because it is at least a few $100 savings on each bag, upwards of 1,000 or more if you are buying, bags that are more expensive. And before I continue, on one screen, I'll go ahead and I'll insert a picture with all the prices of exactly how much I saved on each item, and I'll go ahead and total it up. So as you can see, with all the savings I got, I could basically almost get, another bag, somewhere else. So again, if you are planning on buying a bag, you have it on your eye, and you're going to be traveling to Europe, strongly consider, actually going to Europe and buying it instead. Really quickly, I did also want to mention a few other stores, even though I didn't purchase. So Dior had about 12%, Stock was again relatively low, but still you could definitely get your VAT refund, and the deals are a little bit better in terms of the European price. I also had a chance to go to the YSL outlet, which is what I'm showing right here. They had these Lulu bags for 650 euros, which is an absolute amazing deal. They also had their tote bag for 550. So if you do have time, going to the outlets is also a great way to find deals on top of the VAT refund and European conversion. If you don't want to deal with any of the hassles, you can also always shop duty-free at the airport. This is an overview of CDG. They had absolutely everything. But as I mentioned in my last video, stock is very low. So if you don't want to go ahead and shop before you get to the airport, keep in mind that no stock is guaranteed if you do want to shop at the terminals. In terms of now moving on to tips and tricks, my number one tip for you, you have to bring your passport. They can only process a VAT refund if you have your physical passport on you. If you don't have it on you, they will not do it. They will not take a picture, and in some places they won't really save the bag. Maybe they'll be like, hey, if you can come back here in an hour or two, we'll save the bag for you and you can come get it. But it's not something like, hey, I forgot my passport, can I come back tomorrow? They're most likely not going to save it for you unless you have, a good relationship maybe with your SA, but please bring your passport with you. It's relatively small. Just keep it in your bag somewhere. You never know when you're going to purchase things or when an item is going to be coming in stock, so you might as well just bring it with you. That is my number one tip. I've seen it on YouTube where it happened to other people, and luckily their SA was able to hold it for them, but I've seen it in the store too where these people didn't have their passport and they couldn't walk away with their bags. Something else I wanted to touch on is to be familiar with the different vendors that are doing the tax refund form. So as I mentioned before, there's multiple ones. So this one is Planet, as you can see. This one is Global Blue. So they both basically are the same thing. They're just, each retailer has a, I guess, chosen partner that they choose to, give you the refund through. And different different partners have different rates. So Global Blue is pretty much always going to be 12. Planet is going to be 13%. So keep that in mind. Maybe you can do some research on, which store has which partner, and therefore you can find out exactly how much you are saving, because beforehand you'll already know if you're going to get that 12% back or you're going to get your 13% back. So essentially, for every single purchase you get, you're going to get an envelope, and every single envelope has a detail of the purchase and it has a barcode at the top. So I'm not going to go ahead and show you the exact whole thing because it has my name and everything like that. But just really quickly, if you were to look right here, you can see that, there is a barcode. So when you get to the airport, there are going to be machines, and depending on which airport you're flying out of, you can look beforehand, search up, like for example, CDG airport, CDG tax refund counter. They're called the Pablo counters, and it'll tell you, if you're in terminal X, it'll be here. If you're in terminal Y, it'll be here. And you essentially take that barcode and you scan it one by one for each item. Some will automatically pass, and I'll try to insert a picture if I can find that, but some might be like, hey, you need to go to a counter. So with this being said, the other crucial thing is please do your tax refunds before you check in your bags, and do not, I guess I would not recommend checking in your luxury bags, because if you go to the counter, they might ask to see your items. For me, he asked, do you have the items on hand? And I said, yes, of course, but he didn't actually ask to check. Now, if you, let's say your tax refund wasn't processed and it told you to go, talk to a security officer, that security officer might be like, please show me, these items that did not pass the check. And if you don't have the item, then they cannot issue the tax refund. Again, the whole point of the VAT refund is that they are allowing non-EU residents to buy these items, take them out of the countries to enjoy. But if you don't have the item on you, how can they prove that you didn't just, sell it to somebody in France for a lower rate and then try to claim the VAT refund? You need to have the item with you. So that being said, get to the airport early. CDG is huge. I would recommend, 2 to 3 hours. Please go do your refunds before, you check in your bags, and make sure that you have absolutely everything on hand with you. Another tip that I don't see commonly talked about is if you are going to Europe, it is possible that you're going to be going to multiple countries, and you might not know this, but every single country has their own VAT rate. So therefore, the higher the VAT rate, the higher the proportion you get to keep. So if you're traveling to multiple countries, consider purchasing in the country that has the highest VAT refund rate. And ironically, it's not always France. Now, if you are planning to do an international trip, my guess is that you already have specific cards that have no international travel fees, But if you have a partner who also has one, I would recommend maybe going to purchase things together, because for some reason when I went to purchase my Boosie, it would not allow a refund to go on my card, and thankfully my partner was with me and we were able to issue the refund directly on his card. I have a feeling, if you watch my LV video, I'll link it up if I haven't already. Essentially this bag, I was exchanging it for another bag. So my guess is that because it was an exchange, there wasn't really a form of direct payment linked to the bag. I didn't pay for it, I just exchanged it. So therefore, my guess is that they couldn't issue a tax refund because I didn't pay for it. It was sort of like a credit. So how do you, get a tax refund on a store credit, let's say? So they didn't allow me to use my original form of payment. But again, I was luckily able to use my partner's card and that was all solved. Throughout this video, I've been telling you how much I was told I was going to get in euros, but at the end of the day, this is in euros. One thing that I did want to note is that the partners issue you their refund at their own conversion rate of, let's say in my case, euro to USD. So their rate isn't as favorable as, my credit card, which doesn't have any international transaction fees. So because if I were to use my credit card, essentially my credit card is going to give me the best sort of transaction rate. But, these partners don't really have the same, I guess, incentive to do so. So, I've been saying 12 to 13%, but, give or take 1% because the partners might be charging you a little bit of a higher transaction rate. So keep that in mind. Just take it with a grain of salt. On a similar note, some retailers might ask you, do you want to pay in euros or do you want to pay in USD? Always choose the local currency, which is euros, because again, the rate that they're going to give you is most likely going to be worse than the rate that your bank is going to give you. So always pay in the local currency if you can, and just have your bank do the exchange rather than the store deciding the exchange rate. Now let's talk about how fast I was able to get my refunds. So for Global Blue, I actually got my refunds in less than 1 day, 24 hours. It was already on my credit card. For Planet Free, it took a little bit longer. I think it was 2 to 3 days, but it's very, very fast if you choose to get a credit card refund. If you want to do cash, you can get it right there, but I think you only get like 10% or less back. So I would highly recommend just choosing credit card. You don't have to worry about cash, exchanging it to your own rate, having to go to a different terminal to get cash. Credit card is probably the fast and easiest way to get your refund. One thing that I did want to say about Global Blue that I really did like, and maybe that's why they gave you less than Planet Free, is because, they have these features. But essentially with Global Blue, any single time you make a purchase, they'll text and email you and you can actually track your refund. So you can see if it's been processed, accepted, paid out. And that wasn't the same case for Planet Free. Maybe Planet Free gives you 13% instead of 12% because they aren't spending those that money to keep those features running. Just one thing to note, that it's a little bit easier to track with Global Blue. One thing that is really new that I came across before I went on my trip is there's this new application called WeVat. So WeVat, I'll put a link in the description, but it's essentially a way for you to get a tax refund on essentially any purchase as long as you ask for an invoice. It doesn't really have to meet the dollar threshold. So in, most stores, they have a $100 USD threshold, and once you meet that threshold, they will issue you that refund. But what WeVat claims is that you can essentially ask for any invoice, and then you can add it up all your purchases together and then have it paid out to you that way versus having to spend that much at one individual retailer. They also claim it's easier because since it's all digital, you don't have to, go through stalls at the airport, have people print it out, that they're able to give you more back. So it might be, closer to 14% versus the 12%. However, I did make a purchase at Longchamp. So Longchamp, I know it's not in this video, but it's also a lot cheaper than in the US. So I paid like $53 for a Le Pliage tote. And I was like, okay, since this doesn't meet the threshold and they can't issue me a tax refund, why don't I try using WeVat? So WeVat, I'll put it on the screen, but essentially there's this app on your phone and you can show this text to the cashiers asking for an invoice, and it's all in French. However, even though WeVat claims that you don't need to meet the threshold, the people working at Longchamp would not issue me an invoice. They were like, oh, it doesn't meet the threshold. And I'm like, yes, I'm aware, but it doesn't need to meet the threshold if you are using WeVat. But I think WeVat is so new that so many places are unfamiliar with it. So honestly, in my opinion, if you can, just save the hassle, go the traditional route. You'll be guaranteed to get your money back. Unless you want to try WeVat, but again, it didn't work for me. They claim you can use it anywhere under the threshold and get that refund, but again, it did not work for me. So that is one thing to keep in mind if you were planning to use WeVat. Also, I know in this entire video I've been focusing on luxury goods, but just as a reminder, you can get the VAT refund sort of anywhere. I made a purchase at Lego and was able to get a VAT refund there, even at the pharmacy if you're looking to buy, some skincare or makeup, works there as well. So don't be thinking that you can only get a VAT refund on luxury purchases. No, it basically works for anything as long as you're over the threshold, or if you are using WeVat, if you ask them to essentially give you an invoice that is specifically for WeVat. With that being said, I would go ahead and end the video. Please give this video a like if you found it helpful. I try to be as transparent as I can because I wasn't able to find these types of videos with exact prices before I went. Please subscribe to see more videos, to see maybe detailed reviews on these bags, wear and tear, comparing the Empreinte Neverfull to the canvas, and just other luxury videos. So again, hope to see you back here soon, and thanks for watching. Bye.